This is RF from Country Lunch on WOOL 91.5 FM from Bellows Falls, Vermont. Oh, I'm talking with Budcat7 again today. I'm here with Paleo Mountain Man, which is Jim from Springfield. And Budcat, where are you located? And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I'm located in New York, and I'm an independent researcher who researches the stone walls of New York and New England and all the other stone constructions we have here in the New England area, stone chambers, effigies, serpent walls, earthworks, mounds, and the skeletal remains that have been dug up in these areas in the past of large size, large skeletons dug up in these areas, and actually across the whole country. But we have quite a few of those kind of reports here in the Northeast, and these are some of the things that I cover on my YouTube channel and involved in my research.
Great. I'm going to let Jim, I'm going to let you go at it. I know nothing about what's going on. You two go at it and talk about what you want to talk about today. You said you wanted to talk about some of the discoveries on his land. Is that what you said? Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, that's maybe Jimmy could tell a story of how we actually met and how it came about that I even came up to Vermont to come take a look of what Jimmy has on his property.
Well, one day I bought 15 acres up on a ridgetop in Springfield, and on the 15 acres are three walls. They all go north-south in a pretty straight line. And the center wall is on the top of a ridge, and the ridge top can see the east and the western horizon both at the same time. And it just looked like a big wall. It was really nice. And one day I was looking at it close, and I noticed that it was put together very well. I didn't know anything about megaliths at the time, construction, stone chambers, or anything. And I noticed that I'd never found, I always picked up rocks, and I picked a lot of rocks up on the property. I never found an arrowhead, anything like that. I was looking in the wrong place. It was the stone walls that were the artifacts. It turns out that the stone wall was a pretty special construction, and I noticed it. There were carved stones placed very well in the wall. The wall seemed to look like it had effigies in them, and I have a good eye for that. I'm an artist, so I know images. And whoever built the wall was building these effigies or images inside the wall, or sections of it at a time. And between the effigies were these large, very large stones holding both sides of the effigies up along the wall, and it was very well constructed. It's an acoustic wall. It's dry built. You can tap your finger on it, and it'll ring out. And it also sights the horizon for the sun going up and down, and the moon. I'm pretty sure. I've seen the moon set in the morning and at night behind the wall. It's a calendar, and I started researching it, and Budcat 7 or Stonewall Research Channel is what I came up with early on, and I somehow we got in contact, and you came up and saw the wall yourself. You had been researching Mallory, Connecticut, and that was interesting to me because it got me to look at the walls in a different way. And the first time I ever heard the word giant, other than the Jolly Green Giant, was from you. And everything started looking different after I found this wall because everything I had learned was wrong. These weren't farmers' walls at all. And you know as well as I do, everyone just considers them farmers' walls. And I was told that by everybody. Oh, the farmers threw those up. But why would they put all these stones up on the highest part of the ridge? Why would you clear a field and bring stones uphill? Things like that. And why would you build it so well? And why is it still standing so well? And why is it hollow built? And why? There were so many questions. And I started researching it and searching the property in different ways, with different eyes. And I realized that I was looking at a very old structure. I started picking up artifacts, stone hammers, stone tools, things like that. And if you have metal tools, you don't use stone tools. You don't make stone hammers. You don't do that. And they were actually built into the wall, stone hammers. And I think the wall was repurposed from other walls when it was built, because it seems like a lot of the stones in the wall were shaped and formed at a different time. It just seemed like that to me. There's a lot going on in the history of Vermont and New England and Connecticut and Massachusetts and New York that we've been told, or you can find in any books. You can't find this type of history. And I called them the Serpent People, and we kind of both called them the White Stone People because they use a lot of white quartz in their building and in their carvings. They create a lot of artwork. They carved quartz using harder stone like garnet, and they carved effigies out of them. Incredible carvings into this hard quartz. And the quartz up on the mountain where I am tends to be really nice. It goes from white to blue to orange to black, everything in between. And I think that's what drew them there. The property's in between two rivers, where most ancient sites are. You'll find them in between two rivers. And I just happened to move there and find this place and started researching it. And I think it's one of the more spectacular sites in the area because of all the artifacts, all the images they left behind, all the tools they left. There's 2 red ochre mounds on the property that I found. I don't know what's in them, but they are red ochre mounds. And they're on the east side of the wall, where it seems like a cemetery to me. The west side is where people lived and grew food and ground their food up and, had their babies and things like that. But on the east side of the wall, which is on the other side of the ridge, was a cemetery, I believe. And you saw it, Dave. Maybe you got that feeling also, that it was a cemetery.
Well, I certainly got the feeling that there was something going on with those walls that were a bit above and beyond what I guess generally was known about them. When I first saw your wall, is what really gave me the clue, is that there's things in these walls that are built into these walls that are not only artwork, but I think, as we came to really sort of understand it, there's much more than just art in the walls. There's information. And, the art is part and parcel to this information that's in the wall. Whether it just indicates that these people are trying to say that, we're the Serpent People and these are our walls. And, I was just fascinated by that. When Jimmy had posted his video on his YouTube channel, I said, what is that? What is going on with those walls? So, I hopped a Greyhound up there to Vermont to take a look at it, and I met Jimmy at his house on his property. They stayed in Bellow Falls in a hotel there, and Jimmy came and got me and brought me up to his property, and that's when I was able to get a closer look at these walls. And Jimmy's property, I think, is an important area there, and I think a lot of the mountaintop areas are important areas where you find the walls. And we just so happened to look around Jimmy's property, and I kept on seeing this recurring theme going on there with the serpent being in the wall, effigies created in the wall. And when we went up to Mount Ephraim and took a look at the walls up there, we were finding almost identical constructions in the wall, these circular cairns that seem to have a central eye and a type of construction in there that made it look like an effigy. And which, we more or less concluded that all of these walls had these serpent effigies in them, and therefore all of the walls are representations of the serpent or snake.
I think you're right. I think there's
And
different types of walls too. Like the ones on Mount Ephraim are straight, and the ones that on my property are very straight. They seem to be lined up to true north. There's many walls that aren't straight. They go all in every which way. They look more like serpents than the straight walls. And I think the straight walls were more of a way of more of a technology. Because they were calendars and they did watch the stars using the stone walls. And there's even tunnels in the walls that you look through, and maybe 3 days out of the year you can see the sun setting on the horizon through that tunnel, and it licks light up through the tunnel in the wall for those 3 days out of the year.
Especially at your property.
That's the only one
Especially
I
at
know
your
of,
property.
yeah, but there has to be more. I mean, mine's in the
Of course.
perfect spot for that, but they are serpent walls, I believe, too, all of them. And that just shows you, the strength of the serpent image that these people had. And why they had it, I don't know, but a lot of the artifacts and images they created, they all have serpents on them. Even if they created an image with a bear, you'd find a serpent in the image somewhere. That was in the back of their minds on everything. Birds, too.